There we go. So nice to have all of you with us today. I'm going to be sharing my screen a lot today. This evening is how we're going to do this because I have a lot of slides to show you. Um, we're going to be sharing about hormones, and specifically, I mean, we could talk for many classes on hormones, but we're just specifically going to talk about women and women's hormones since I don't know if we've ever had a gentleman attend the class. Maybe every now and then, but very, very rare. So that's what we're going to deal with today. So I'm just going to get started right away with sharing my screen and making sure everyone can see that. Do you see that nice and big? Okay,
Hmm.
great, great. Okay, so how to balance our hormones naturally. As we talk about this, I want you to keep in mind we live in a time today when, because of how far medicine has come, many people turn to synthetically balancing their hormones, and that's a decision that's personal. All of us have to decide for ourselves. But as we go through this, and if you do any research, if you're at that point where you need hormone support and um, maybe you're being recommended to go that route, please do some research on that because re, studies show now that that's been going on for 30 years, especially the last 30 years, with using synthetic hormones, there's a lot more risk factors. If we can do something naturally, and it will help balance those hormones, that is much better the way to go. Your body takes um, human hormones and even animal hormones, uh, or not animal, excuse me, plant hormones, not animal, plant hormones more naturally. Okay, they work well together compared to synthetic. Synthetic can create all kinds of problems. So why do we need to balance them? Because without balancing them, we go crazy, right? We've all been there. We've all been there. We've all had those times of the month when we know ourselves, we're out of control. We just feel like we can't control anything. And as we get older and maybe get through that stage of our life, we still realize, maybe because of low libido or weight gain or just a lot of anxiety that we didn't used to have, that something is wrong with our hormones. So it's very important that we try to figure out what that is, because even just a slight imbalance can really affect your overall well-being, not just mentally, but even physically. And so that's why this class is so important for us to look at some ways that we can balance our hormones. So I already mentioned a few of these, but you can look at that list there and see a lot of things that happen um, when we're out of balance: hot flashes, weight gain, food cravings. I know I have a friend who was never really big into sweets at all. Okay, she just wasn't, until she hit her mid 50s and started going through menopause, and then she just cannot eat enough sweets. It's the first person I've ever seen with that big of drastic change. But that's one of the things that can happen when our hormones get out of whack. Food cravings can just come on like crazy. Mood swings, we're pretty familiar with that one. Low libido, I mentioned. Indigestion, headaches, can't sleep. There's quite a few listed there. So let's talk about some of the products that Young Living makes. We're going to talk about some oils, one non-oil, and then even some supplements that we can look to. Number one on the list that many people think of, not that it's number one and use this one first, but on my little list here, number one on the list is clary sage. Um, Very good for women, and this specifically mentions especially um, in our younger years, but it also lets us know that even when we hit menopause, clary sage can be very, very good about helping balance those hormones. It's one of these oils that you can use from beginning all the way through your life, as a from a young teenage girl all the way up to our age. And it can help with different things as it brings out there. It can help with just the blues that you get. It can help with your skin. It can help with that time of month, the hormones, and even hot flashes. So a lot of these oils that we're going to talk about, like clary sage and the others, we are talking about typically topically applying. Okay, there are a few that do come in the vitality line. So yes, the ones that come in the vitality line, I will definitely mention here for you, because you may consider, if your hormones are way out of whack, consider taking it internally. And one thing I should have mentioned at the very beginning of this class, and I'm going to say it now, highly recommend all of us get your hormones tested. Okay. Donna and me, before everyone got on here, Donna mentioned it, and we were looking. There are labs that you can do, like saliva testing, or you can even do a blood work testing that will test the level of the progesterone in your body, the estrogen, the DHEA, all of those things. It's a very smart thing to do to get that done. So then you'll know where to go. It'll help you narrow down the field of what you possibly can be. Okay. So clary sage is one of them. Another one, this one's pretty common. We all laugh at the title of this one. Young Living was great in naming it this. Dragon time. Anyone want to guess when you would want to use that one? So obviously this one can be very good for your mood and your attitude during that time of month, but even just for the PMSing, the cramping, and everything else. This is one that many of us, we have a friend who has two daughters, and when they were at home and stuff, it was always sort of a joke with her husband and the girls, and that everyone needed dragon time. That was one of his best friends because of living with all the female hormones in that house. Okay, next up, lady sclerol. Lady sclerol. This one is very good if we have low estrogen. So for a lot of us, I'm not going to pick on any of us. I'll just pick on me. I'm over the age of 50. So this one is a great one, because the older we get, our progesterone and our estrogen on the average woman just plummets. It's almost non-existent. So you need something, and hence why we're trying to find something naturally without turning to a synthetic form of estrogen. So lady sclerol is an option. Now, I mentioned topically, so you may be thinking, well, where can I apply it? Well, you know what? We've had enough of these classes that many of you know our bodies know exactly what to do with it no matter where I apply it. Okay. So if you read a lot about reflexology, a lot of people will apply it then to that area that matches for their female issues on the feet, wherever that may be, or on their hands, but you don't have to do that. We're going to talk about one here in a minute that I apply on my inner arm here. Is where I apply it, from my wrist to my elbow. It's an area of thin skin, so it's easily absorbed. So that may be an area. Some like to apply oils like this or clary sage on the back of their neck or the front of their neck. It really, there's no set rule as to where you apply it. Just apply it so your body can use that to help your estrogen level. Next up, sclerescence. This one also comes as a vitality oil. Okay, sclerescence. It's very similar to clary sage, except for this one has a little more. And for most people, they prefer this smell. And this one is another one that is very, very good during and after menopause. Okay, and even mentions if you've had a hysterectomy, then this may be one you want to turn to after you've had that hysterectomy to help balance and support your hormones. And again, this one even gives you an idea where to apply. And I have done that many times. The inside of our ankles, the inside of your ankles is a good place to apply it for female hormones. So sclerescence, okay? Next up, this is the one that for many of us, we immediately think of when we want to balance our hormones. And this is Progessence Plus. Now, this is a serum. It's not an essential oil. Okay. It does have essential oils within it, but it is actually a serum, and it's to boost our progesterone levels, because again, by the time we get to my age, they plummet, and I can have a serious effect, like all those symptoms we read in the beginning. So this is one that I apply typically from my wrist to my elbow. This is the one I apply at night. That's the bottle you see in the picture there. It's a 10 ml bottle. It's not the little one, and it's not the 15. I think it's a 10 ml. But the roller tops that Young Living makes sits on there. And that's what I do. When I get mine in and I'm done with my other bottle, I take the roller top off it and put on my new bottle. That way I can just roll it on at night and be done. But you can do your ankles, you can do your inner arms, you can do your inner thighs. Once we wrap up here and talking about these, I'm actually going to share some with you from the doctor who helped Young Living and Gary Young come up with this formula. And he has a really good series of questions and answers. So I'm going to share some of those with you afterwards, but we're going to go ahead and go through this first. But for many of us, this is the one to reach for. Now, another thing to say about Progessence Plus, according to the doctor that helped in this formulation, apply at night. Okay. Now I do hear some say, oh, I use it during the day and whatever, but his recommendation is to apply this right before you go to bed, because it helps with sleep, but it is specifically for hormones, but he says for many, it also helps them to relax to sleep. And so his recommendation is to use this at night. However, having said that, he also talks about starting low with this. So at first you may just apply this at night. Okay. So I go one swipe from my wrist to my elbow, and then I use my other arm and just rub it in like that. Okay. However, he says, if you don't notice a difference within a few days of having done that, then you're going to want to start upping it, which means you can't really do that at night. So you've did that at night, then try it again the next day, maybe at a different time during the day, plus do the night. In other words, he says you may need to build up that progesterone that's within your body, but start at night with that. Okay. Some of the other oils that are very good. You've heard me talk about this before, that a lot of the floral scents are good for female hormones. And so it's not a shock that ylang ylang is here. It's good for a healthy libido, for hot flashes. This is an oil that you can reach for. And the interesting thing is, a lot of these oils will do a lot of other things. We're going to talk about one of the creams Young Living has that covers many different things besides hormones, and ylang ylang is the same way. But since we're talking about hormones tonight, then that's what we're concentrating on when it comes to ylang ylang. So again, you can do your inner ankles, you can do your inner thighs, wherever you want, but you can use that. Now, if any of you all are still dealing with issues of PMS, then here's some things to keep in mind. If you're bloated, maybe try fennel applied right to your abdomen. One I really want to mention is number 5. Because whether you're in PMS or we're past all of that, I had this class, it's probably been 2 or 3 months ago. It's one of my favorite classes I've ever taught. And that is the class on adrenals. Because if we're going to support our hormones, that means you've got to support your adrenals. Okay. They're hand in hand. So remember, and I didn't bring mine in here, but I keep mine sitting in the living room. So at some point during the day, when I sit down in the living room for a little bit, I apply Indiflex and nutmeg. I have roller tops again on both of those so that I can just immediately apply it. Like I apply it on the sides of my neck a lot of times, or even over the throat area right here, because Indiflex and nutmeg are very, very good to support your adrenals. Okay. And everyone needs that. Everyone needs to support those adrenals. So keep that one in mind. Now, it lists a couple other oils there too, clove and rosemary. But the two I reach for that we talked a lot in that class is nutmeg and Indiflex. So keep that in mind. Some of the supplements that you could consider taking to help balance those hormones, cortisol. Again, it sort of goes back to that class we taught on adrenals. Cortisol, as it says there, and if you're reading the little graphic, is the death hormone. And what that means is our cortisol level can get so high that it impacts our health very dangerously. And you know what? It's quite common today. People are stressed, okay? And instead of dealing with the stress and figuring out how to get it back down, the next day that stress is still there and then they add to it, okay? We know in the society we live in today that anxiety and stress and oftentimes leads to depression. And look at the number of people that we even know, dear friends, maybe even ourselves, that are on anxiety medicine, okay? Because our stress levels are dangerously high. So cortisol is a good way, a good supplement to take to help get your stress levels down. Because the higher your stress is, the more off balance your hormones are going to be. It is going to seriously impact everything that you do. Okay. So if that is something you are dealing with, then cortisol is a good one to reach for to support your hormones and to support those adrenals. Next up. Oh, back to the oil. I thought I had these in order of oils then. Anyway. Okay. So Indiflex. Again, your adrenals, your endocrine system, thyroid, remember that's part of your adrenals. Those adrenal glands is the thyroid gland, and you've heard Donna speak of this numerous times. This is the one she applies right here, right at that little indentation at your throat area there, because your thyroid is right back there. And so it's very good to do that daily to help support that thyroid. And again, if you have testing done, you're going to know sometimes whether your thyroid is off or not. However, having said that, thyroid testing, unless they get more specialized, is oftentimes one of those things that they test and they say, oh, it's good. Your thyroid is good. But I was talking to my doctor about that because most tests that are done, they have a levels, right? Like if it's below this, not good. And then they have the mid range, which these are the acceptable levels. And then they have the high range. Okay. Don't just accept, if you think something's wrong and they test something like your thyroid and they're like, well, no, it's good. Okay. It may be good for the average person, but maybe if you've never tested for your thyroid before, maybe you were always on the low end and now you may still be within the acceptable, but it may be a lot higher. So you can see why it's important that you keep an eye on that. So maybe they say it is acceptable. Okay, well, give it a few months and do that test again. Is it still rising? Because something's wrong with your thyroid. Don't just do the test and then say, oh, I can wait 5 years. Don't wait that long if you think there's something wrong with your thyroid, okay? Keep an eye on that. And just remember that about almost any testing. They have a mid-range, which, oh, everything's good. But you know what? We're all different. It may be good for the average person, but maybe not for you. Okay, another supplement. This one has DHEA, a natural DHEA, okay? Not something synthetic. That's the thing to keep in mind and to always remember about Young Living. It's always about using sustainable things naturally found in plant life and things like that can help support our bodies, since we have so much in common with the chemicals within plants that are also within humans. So DHEA is very good to help balance women's hormones and that endocrine system. So this may be one that you want to look into. If after going through these, you want a class on just these, we can teach a class on just these supplements. Not tonight, but Donna and I can add that to the schedule sometime to just teach about each of these supplements, because we both have a supplement book that will go into a lot more detail about the few supplements that we are mentioning. Another thing, I thought this was interesting that this be here, because when you think of Essentialzyme, you don't think of balancing hormones. But again, everything starts in the gut, right? So if we're not taking care, and if we don't have enough enzymes helping break down and move everything through our body, then it will affect our energy and our vitality and our hormones. So Essentialzyme, no matter whether you're having hormone issues or not, everyone needs to be taking some type of enzyme, because most of us, we try to eat healthy, but processed food is a big part of people's lives anymore, and you need enzymes if you're having any type of processed food. Okay, this is a big one for a lot of women that they will not be without, is Femigen. It supports the reproductive system from the time we're preteens or teenagers, when all of that hormones kick in, especially all the way through menopause. This is one that, besides things like the Progestins Plus, if you're battling any of those symptoms, maybe to an extreme, then you may want to consider trying Femigen. And just remember, we've mentioned this before, because me and Donna were talking about this earlier, because I'm in the same boat as her. I have this, Donna has this, and we were both talking about, I've never made it all the way through the bottle. You know what that means? I didn't stick with it. If you're going to try this to help balance your hormones, you've got to give your body time, and these supplements time to work in your body. Because, our health could be horrible, and we start taking Femigen and we're like, oh, I don't really see a lot of difference, and then I stop. When your body is trying, it's not a miracle worker. It's not going to mask the problem. It's going to take a while at times to build up to a level that your body begins to really see a difference. So please always at least finish the bottle before you make a decision, okay? And then decide, do you see a difference? But in all honesty, they recommend 2 to 3 months of a supplement, in order, because of the cycle of your liver and everything like that your body goes through, that is the actual better way to decide if something works. So this is one that I'm not a doctor, and I don't know your situation, but when I do the research and read about these, Femigen and Progestins Plus are two of the ones, supplement and a serum, that you may really want to consider. And then, of course, back to the gut, because everything originates there. Everyone should be taking a probiotic, because it also is going to ultimately help with your hormones, even though it's not specifically a hormone supplement. And I want to make sure, yeah, that's back to the beginning, and I thought so. Okay, so let me stop sharing. So that was a list of some oils and some supplements. On top of that, I had my phone. I want to open my phone back up a minute, because I had this marked so I could share this with you. We want to talk about two other two other products that also can help with our hormones. And so I'm going to talk about the one, and then I think Donna is going to mention the other. And they're similar, so then you just have to choose which one you want to try. The one I'm holding up here is the Regenolone, starts with an R, Regenolone moisturizing cream, okay? When you see this, when you read about this on Young Living, it's very good for dry skin, right? This goes back to what I said earlier about how certain products do so many different things for our body. Okay, if you have really dry skin, this is a great moisturizing cream. Okay, if you are dealing with, if you suffer from inflammation or discomfort in your joints or your muscles, this is a very good cream to apply over that area. But you ready? We're talking about hormones. Very good for your hormones because this has the prenolone and the progesterone in it. It also has MSM. That's why it's so good for your joints and your hormones too. So this is one to consider applying. You can apply it anywhere. One of the doctors I was reading about today and talking about the creams recommended your inner thighs or even your the thin area on your body of skin, like there, or your underarms. In that area is another good place to apply this cream. So that may be something you want to consider because it does have the progesterone in it. And again, that is something that the majority of us do not have much of. And when I get to those questions and answers from the doctor, you're just going to see how bad it truly is for most of us. And that's why it's important to get tested. Donna, did you want to mention about the one, because you have the other one?
So I have, this is called Prenolone Plus. So Prenolone is something that is, it's called a body cream because, we are not treating, curing, diagnosing anything. However, I do have some reference reference books. So this has DHEA in it. And I would suggest anybody, man, woman, to look up DHEA. We all need it. It starts to go down in our body from age 30 on. And so we definitely need that in our body. So this helps. It's derived from wild yam. And if you ever noticed, a lot of like Progestins Plus, they all have that wild yam because that is a natural way to help estrogen. So that's what is in here. It's a nice cream. It smells nice, has a lot of oils in it. And I usually put it on my inner forearm, just like Kim was saying about Progestins Plus, or it also says on your inner thigh. I don't particularly do this every day because I did have my hormones tested. I went to a place that's in Port Orange, and they're a natural women's health center. And I got sent out, they sent out the information, whatever they took from me, and I got my hormones tested. And I was, for my age, I was okay. My DHEA was a little low. So that causes dryness. It causes a few different problems. So we can talk about that afterwards. But so this has a little more DHEA than my doctor wanted me to have. The practitioner wanted me to have. So I just use this every few days. So it's something that you do have to do a little research. I have a lot of research material. I would be happy to do that for you. And afterwards, I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. But this has pregnenolone from soybeans and also natural progesterone from the soybeans. And it has the natural DHEA from the wild yam. So that's also something that Kim and I were talking about earlier. I have thyroid issues, so I have to definitely be careful about soybeans. It doesn't mean that I cannot use this, because I was using this and I didn't, and my thyroid was fine. So you just have to know your ingredients. And if you have any questions about any of the products that we were talking about, please message us, because we can only say so much here, but we have a lot of reference material that will say, if you're pregnant, if you're nursing, there's certain things you should not have. Not that any of you are pregnant and nursing, but but if you were to suggest that to anybody, you have to know those warnings, because there's certain things that we have to be careful about with our bodies. So that is what I wanted to say.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording. So if anyone is watching this on Facebook Live or watches the recording back, if you have questions, then leave them in the comment or message me or Donna, and we will answer them. And then we're going to talk a little more